So recently I went back and watched the 60th specials of Doctor Who again for the first time since they aired, and with season 2 about to hit our screens, I thought I'd jump straight back into season 1 again to refresh my brain. Just a heads up, I will not be covering the Church on Ruby Road just yet. I'll post that around Christmas time. Eventually I will release all of my reviews to every single gatwa episode in one video, and I'll stick it in there, so just don't stress it too much. On to 73 yards. I'm going to do a quick run through of the episode and then I'll give you my thoughts afterwards. We open and we're immediately put at unease due to the fact that there is no title sequence. The Doctor and Ruby arrive on top of some Welsh cliffs. The Doctor name drops a later Welsh Prime Minister's name, Roger ap Gwilliam, and apparently he's a lot of trouble. The Doctor accidentally steps on a circle made out of string. What is it with the Doctor constantly stepping on stuff this season? Anyway, Ruby starts reading a note that was on the circle that reads, "Rest in peace, Mad Jack." The camera then pans back round and the Doctor has disappeared. Ruby spots an old woman in the distance doing some voodoo magic. Ruby tries to approach, however, she realizes that no matter how close she gets, the woman is constantly a certain distance away. Can you guess the distance, guys? Ruby then decides to go and try and find the locals, and then she bumps into Susan Twist. Oh my god, it's Susan Twist, guys, it's Susan Twist! Ruby asks Susan to go and speak to the old woman and asks what she wants. Susan approaches after a few seconds and starts running away screaming. Ruby looks confused and then she arrives at a pub. She orders a Coke which costs her £5 and she asks if she can pay with her phone, to which the locals laugh and mock her for what they think is her mocking them. She tells one of them to go out and speak to the woman who is still behind her. One of the locals goes out to talk to the woman, but the same response as Susan Twist from earlier, screams and runs off. Ruby tells the locals about the Doctor stepping on a charm circle and the locals say that she's cursed herself. There is then a knock at the door and the locals convince Ruby that Mad Jack is coming for her. However, she opens the door to find the food supplier man, and she realizes that she's been the butt of the joke for the past 5 minutes. The next day, Ruby admits defeat and goes home to London. However, on the train, she notices that the woman is still following her. She tells Carla about this when she gets home, and Carla goes up to the woman and has the same reaction as the others. Carla then gives us this pure evil death stare from inside the taxi, and she then changes the locks on the flat and tells Ruby to leave and that she wants nothing to do with her anymore, and not even her birth mother wanted anything to do with her. Oh look, snow. Ruby is now in a cafe and Kate Stewart appears. Kate says that the unit team will go and talk to her, but there is nothing to worry about because they are all properly psychic trained. However, when they go up to her, again, the same reaction. Even from Kate. Ruby is truly on her own. We see Ruby going on a few dates over the next few years, and she's now 40 apparently. I mean, come on guys, you could have done a bit more. Ruby is on a date with a bloke and suddenly a news broadcast comes on. It's that Roger ap Gwilliam bloke that the Doctor mentioned earlier. He also mentions that his nickname is Mad Jack. Ruby gets a job holding coats for Roger, and Roger admits on a TV interview that he wants to nuke the world, then remembers where he is and asks for it to be cut from the show. Roger invites a random girl called Marty, especially her, to an after-party. Roger becomes Prime Minister. We're now in a football stadium where Roger is doing a broadcast later that day. One of Roger's workers informs Ruby that he gets the nuke codes later today. So Ruby goes on the grass and positions herself exactly 73 yards in front of Roger, meaning that the woman is now next to him and makes him run away screaming and resigns as PM. 40 years later, and Ruby has gone back to the TARDIS for one last time before she dies. We then cut to Ruby in a hospital with a nurse. The nurse says goodnight and Ruby goes to sleep. However, Ruby wakes up in the middle of the night to a woman, the same woman as earlier, now stood in her room. The woman gets closer and closer, and then Ruby becomes the woman and is teleported back to the start of the episode on top of those cliffs somehow. I don't know how, and it's never explained. Anyway, Ruby becomes the woman and is now teleported back to the cliffs at the start of the episode. And just before the Doctor steps on the charm circle, Ruby hears a voice saying, "Don't step. Don't step." This causes Ruby to stop the Doctor from stepping on the circle, and this therefore breaks the curse. The Doctor and Ruby then go on to explore Wales and roll credits. Okay, so I'm here again. Hello, it's me, and I'm not even going to wheel in this time because this episode is so weird. When it first aired, I really did like it. I like it on terms of experience, but in terms of episode and writing and storytelling, it's really lackluster. All it does is tell us the story of Ruby getting older, and then all of a sudden she's randomly teleported back to being an old woman when she was young. There's not much that we're given. Like I say, in terms of vibes, the episode is great, and I've actually gone back and watched this episode a few times because I do really like it. But I just think there's so much that's unanswered. If you want my honest opinion, I think that Russell T Davies saw our review of Midnight from season 4, or series 4, sorry. I think he saw all of the viewers go, Midnight was great because we never found out who the people were, so he did that for Wild Yonder, and he's also done that for this, and gone, well, we're never going to find out what really happened, and that makes the episode. And I think that works for Midnight once, and maybe, yeah, Wild Yonder, it did sort of work as well, even though it wasn't, the origin of these things weren't really too unknown. I just think Russell needs to leave the big unanswered mysteries in the past now and move on to actually telling good stories. Don't get me wrong, I feel really bad for Russell because not many people really enjoyed season 1. I loved it, and this is definitely a highlight. I just think, yeah, there's a lot that is unexplained, and I'm alright with that. I'm okay with that. I just think less of that in the future, please. So let's talk about Ruby's Apple Pay. This is a big point in the episode that I think Russell was trying to put, that us English folk, or just people from a different land that isn't Wales, seem to think that Wales is far behind on culture and modern day things. So the joke Russell was playing is that because Ruby's in an old Welsh town, she's saying, oh, can I pay with my phone? And they go, what do you mean pay with your phone? I've never heard of that before, man. As if Ruby's gone up to them out of the blue and gone, can I pay with my phone? You know, and they go, well, what's that? I take it as Ruby just doesn't know what time period she's in, and that's how I saw it in the first place. So I get the joke now on retrospective, but actually watching the episode, I was just sort of like, well, Ruby asked the question because she's a time traveler and doesn't know what time she's in. So many of us would have thought what I think I feel. So I don't know, maybe it's not, it didn't hit the nail on the head perfectly. Let's talk about Kate Stewart as well. Now, Kate gives us a sense of false hope in this episode, because normally when we see Kate comes in and saves the day. But this episode, Kate came in to save the day, but ended up failing. And she's under the same spell that everyone else is. The woman possesses her brain to never want to go near, talk to, or associate with Ruby ever again. Yes, I like this. More of this, please. I'd love for someone who normally comes in and gives us hope, you know, like Kate. I mean, it's already been done now. It's sort of hard to do it again. But I like when a character comes in who's meant to give us hope, who gives us hope, but then fails. And it goes against the true narrative. I like that. I'm a big fan of that. More of that, please, RTD. Love you. Now, let's talk about Roger ap Gwilliam. There are some theories that Robert and Ruby are siblings. This comes from the fact that we know Ruby's dad's name is William, and ap Gwilliam literally translates to son of William. So people are connecting the dots and going, oh, we know Ruby's mum, we don't know Ruby's dad, but we got a little teaser from Russell in Empire of Death that her dad might be important. Now, we don't want to get false hope again like what happened last season. We know his name's William, and we know ap Gwilliam means son of William, and we know that the whole 73 Yards storyline is a bit either unconcluded or confusing to some. There's a big hint in this episode that Roger ap Gwilliam is a offender. Let's just say that. I can't say the full title. You know what that means. So if I take you a little bit back into the episode, there's a bit where Roger invites Marty, who is a lovely, sweet young woman, and Roger goes, Marty, I want to see you at the party. That rhymes. But he probably didn't say that, but along the same lines. And then when Roger finally gets elected as Prime Minister, we see Marty very upset, very scared looking in the corner. And Ruby goes up to her and says, like, oh, he gives me the creeps. He gives me the creeps, Roger. Everyone's happy, but I'm not a big fan of him. And Marty then says, well, he's a monster. Some people on Reddit take this to mean, oh, he wants to nuke the whole world. Of course he's a monster. But I do think Russell's trying to play on the whole assault story narrative here, rather than just he wants to nuke the world. To see a girl looking that scared, you can only assume it's something along those lines. I feel like if you just find out that this guy wants to nuke the world, which plus she knew that before she got invited to the party. She knew he wanted to nuke the world because he said it on the interview on BBC. So we knew he wanted to nuke. She knew that he wanted to nuke the world. So it's not. I don't think it's along the lines of she's upset that he's going to bomb everyone. I think it's more, yeah, he has done an offence on her. And these few words are enough to make me absolutely hate this guy's guts. I hate Roger ap Gwilliam because of this. And it's not even fact. This is heavily backed up by when Ruby realises that, you know, she needs to stop him and she goes on the football pitch. She apologises to Marty and says, look, sorry it took this long. That to me is also like extra confirmation of like, okay, this guy has obviously assaulted this girl. And that to me makes me go, right, Roger, horrible guy, get him away. I don't want to see him anymore. Something that made me laugh in this episode is old Ruby when she's 80 or something and she's in the hospital bed with the nurse. And the nurse says, okay, Ruby, if it gets dark in the night and you want the light to come on, just say light. And Ruby goes, I know, we had stuff like that when I was younger too. in like an old woman voice, and I found it quite cute, because you know old people are cute, aren't they? They are. And it's just, yeah, the nurse being a bit condescending and Ruby being like, well, we had that in my day as well, you know, we had light saying light turns on the lights, you know, this isn't a new tech thing that us boomers don't get. So yeah, big fan of that. Big fan of that. This bit made me genuinely laugh on second time watching. So Ruby, as the nurse is going, right, Ruby, good night, she turns the light off. Yeah, good night, Ruby. Ruby then goes, and she goes, I could make it snow once. I used to be able to make it snow. And the nurse is like, all right, Ruby, good night now, girl. And that made me laugh, because it is the sort of thing an old person says. You're just sort of like, all right, Gladys, yeah, you go to bed now. You can make it snow. Yeah, of course you could, yeah. Night. So that made me laugh. It made me giggle. It did. So let's also talk about the whole premise and how it came about. So the whole point of 73 yards is that is the exact minimal distance away where you can stop making out someone's face. And the way Russell came about this is he literally stood on a pier. I can't remember what pier it was, but he was stood on a pier and he just looked as far away as he could and found out when you can stop seeing someone's face, and then he measured the distance and went, right, 73 yards. I'm writing an episode on this. And I like that. Unique way of coming across making an episode, or just creating an episode in your head. Russell's good at that, and I like the way he did this. And I do think 73 yards is quite creepy. I do think, you know, my theory for Empire of Death last season was that Ruby was her own mother, because in The Legend of Ruby Sunday, we can't make out who her mum is because she's registering as 73 yards away, which is exactly how far away the woman was in this episode, but that woman then turned out to be Ruby, so I thought maybe that's why we can make her out. I think that's a really good theory, and had a lot of legs, but sadly was let down with whatever cack we ended up with in the end. So some criticism I do have, it doesn't really make sense how Ruby just became this woman overnight. She was just in bed. Now, people take it, and I took it as this first time I watched as well, she died. That's my thought, she died. And when she died, she became this woman. Cool. That still doesn't explain how she's just magically transported into this woman and is now on the top of the cliff. I'm not sure if this is some Welsh folklore that maybe only Welsh folk get. I'm gonna guess that it is part of the circle, that like once you break this circle, you have to live out your whole life with this cursed person following you, and then when you die, you become the cursed person to stop the curse happening in the first place. That's my guess. That's not explained to us, and Russell hasn't even explained it on socials or even in interviews over the past year, so we're just none the wiser. But that's my guess, and I think that is a good enough guess. I'm not a big fan of how Ruby doesn't take anything away from this episode, because it basically just gets wiped and none of it ever happened. But then again, I am a bit contradicted, as in Empire of Death, we see on a screen something like, oh, the TARDIS is 66.6 meters away or something like that, and Ruby says 73 yards, and she somehow knows it. So maybe she does take away things from this episode, and I'm just missing it, and we're all just missing it, and we're all stupid. Again, I really like this episode. I just slapped right next to the mic. This is going to sound horrible. I like to rate episodes like this on vibes rather than plot and stuff, and yeah, on vibes, it's really creepy. I challenge you to watch this in the dark, because I did, and the bit at the end when the woman's at the end of the hospital bed is terrifying. It scared me. I couldn't sleep. I had nightmares. Is it better than Boom? You're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me. Yes, it is. I prefer this to Boom. I'm gonna rate 73 yards 4.3 out of 5. Yes. Take that on board, you punk. Hopefully I'll get Dot and Bubble out for you very, very soon. Sorry there's not been any videos recently over the past few days. I was away over the weekend for Mother's Day, but I'm back now. Hello. I also have been working very hard on a little sort of mini video essay on Jodie Whittaker and why her episodes failed from the first episode. So I basically rewatched The Woman Who Fell to Earth and made some notes along the way and went, right, this is probably why this era was destined to fail from day one, and I'm hoping to post that. It's pretty much all edited now, so I'm hoping to get that out this week as well, so look forward to that, and hopefully I can wrap up this season 1 recap before season 2 comes out. It doesn't seem like it should be too hard, but knowing my laziness and upload schedule, it might fail, but let's be good. We're halfway through now. This is episode 4, so we've only got 4 more left to go. And I want to thank you all for coming with me on this journey. I mean, these are getting loads of views and loads of likes and comments showing me love. I really do appreciate it. I'd love if you could subscribe with the notification bell on and like. I want you all by my side during this journey, because I'm hoping to hit monetization soon, and I want to start launching memberships where you can pay like £1 a month and you get like a bonus video every week or something like that. Let me know if you'd be interested in that as well. But for now, I've been Sam, and I'll be with you again very, very soon. Goodbye. On to Dot and Bubble.